So that's why even in the latter scenario, you might think this is a taco. Oh, Trump is chickening out again. Oh, this is the end. Oh, I guess it wasn't so bad. The boots never hit the ground. Just like last year. Yeah, they haven't hit the ground yet. People said last year, oh, it was a 2-week war. No big deal. All we did was drop a couple of bombs and that was it. Until the next time we bomb Iran. And what are they going to say now? Oh, well, look, all we did was bomb Iran 3,000 times. We never dropped any boots on the ground. Yeah, until the next time we bomb Iran. And then we're going to bomb them again. And people are going to say, well, that was until eventually we get the regime change. And I don't know how we get out of this without a false flag. Because there is no appetite for this war. Nobody wants it. American public opinion will have to turn. There is no Iranian opposition. There's nothing viable there. So it seems that will have to be manufactured at some point to get us to go to war. That's the morbid reality. That is the morbid dynamic that we're engaged in. And that's it. And that is our coverage of the Iran war tonight. Not great. It's a little bit scary. And that's why I said I'm rooting for Iran to win this strategic victory. I saw some people didn't like that. People didn't like that I said I'm rooting for Iran. Let me tell you why I'm rooting for Iran. Some people say, well, I can understand being against Israel, but being in favor of Iran? I used to be like you. I used to think that way. People say, well, they still chant death to America. They're still our enemy. I used to think that too. I'll be precise and specific. Why do I want Iran to hang on here? It's not because I like their Islamic government. I don't care for it. It's not because I'm pro-Iranian. I'm not Persian. I have no affinity with this country at all. The reason why Iran must remain is because the real threat to America is from Israel. It's not crazy. Think of what Israel did to Hezbollah. They put bombs in the pagers. Okay? Now, Israel has infiltrated and subverted America. Everywhere you look, there they are. Billionaire oligarchs, AIPAC, political lobbying, controlling the media, spying on our population. They've penetrated our intelligence agencies, our law enforcement agencies. They are all over our shit. They're on us. If they could put bombs in the pagers in Beirut, in Dahia, what could they do here? And if they could assassinate the Iranian president, which some people believe they did, if they could kill the leadership of Hamas, if they could drop bombs on Qatar, who's to say they couldn't attack America? Or, better yet, who's to say they couldn't attack their enemies that reside in America? Like a Tucker Carlson, like an American president that doesn't go their way. Like any government official that doesn't go their way. Israel has 300 nuclear bombs. They are a nuclear-armed state. They want to expand their territory. They've penetrated and infiltrated the highest levels of American society. And if they have no rivals in the Middle East, there's no check on their power. The capital of global Jewry moves from New York City to Jerusalem, to Tel Aviv, to Israel. And the balance of power shifts away from the United States towards the middle. The leverage that they will have over the Strait of Hormuz, over the Red Sea, over the Indian Ocean, over the Bosporus Strait, over the land and sea routes that connect Asia, Europe, and Africa, the Indo-Pacific and Europe, the United States and these other countries. It will be unprecedented. They're the hegemon in the Middle East. They're a global power. All that oil, all that natural gas, all those data centers, all the capital that is flowing into those sovereign wealth funds, all the capital that has flown into those markets in Dubai, in Qatar, all these countries, these are facilities where money is pouring in. All the raw materials there. The aluminum, the copper, the fertilizer, the LNG, the oil, all that stuff. All under Israel's jurisdiction, all under their control. They become a global power. It's not insane to think that down the line in 25 years, you get an American government that is a complete suzerain to Jerusalem, where the American elites actually do answer to Israel completely, because if they don't, they'll be killed. If the Ayatollah isn't safe, is the American president? The Ayatollah is underground in a country fortified by missiles. They have a nuclear hedge. Is our country safe? What if Israel runs ChatGPT and ChatGPT is integrated into the U.S. military? Because ChatGPT, its brains are in Israel. And who is going to be our AI czar? Alex Karp was just named. The guy's an Israel partisan. Alex Karp, head of Palantir, who flew over there with the whole board after October 7th to give them all the Palantir systems, all the Palantir operating system. He's going to be the AI czar. Sam Altman, another pro-Israel Jew, he is going to be running the U.S. military's AI because Anthropic wouldn't do it. Now ChatGPT is going to do it. And it's got its key stuff in Israel also. Everybody in Silicon Valley, for that matter, is tied to Israel. Sean McGuire at Sequoia, the largest venture capital firm in Silicon Valley, he's in bed with them also. So is Joe Lonsdale at the Founders Fund. He's an Israeli partisan. He's getting tefillin wrapped in fucking Israel. That's Peter Thiel's guy. Peter Thiel's Founders Fund is run by Lonsdale. Stanford Review, Peter Thiel founded. It was edited by Lonsdale. And Lonsdale's an Israel partisan, just like McGuire, just like Alex Karp, just like all these people that are running tech, which is increasingly in bed with defense. Tech is in bed with defense. Drones, AI, cyber systems, even the rocket ships. It's all in bed now with the U.S. military. And if Israel has infiltrated the tech companies through Unit 8200, which they did, then they've also infiltrated our military. And if they could pull off a daring operation like a bomb and a pager, very primitive, for Hezbollah in Beirut, what could they do here? What could they put in our software in the United States? Or the hardware? What could they do to an American? If they could touch the Ayatollah, can they touch the U.S. president? If they can touch the leader of Hezbollah, Hamas, can they touch a dissenting member of the U.S. elite? So that is actually the number one threat, that a fifth column in the United States will have a nuclear-armed regional hegemon backing them up in the Middle East as a base of operations. That's the bigger threat. So I want Iran to exist as a big counterweight to Israel. That is in our interest. Just like we want balance elsewhere, we're trying to balance India and China. We're trying to, in a way, maybe balance Europe and Russia. We want to balance Israel and Iran. We want to balance Israel and this Islamic alliance. Maybe that's a good idea. Get Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Iran as one big coalition, and maybe they hold Israel in check. So some people say, well, I don't care. I say I don't care if the mullahs die. Well, I fucking do. Because I want the mullahs on the front line. I don't want me to be on the front line. They're on the front line fighting our war, actually. Do you want to know why Israel isn't dropping bombs on you? It's not your turn yet. Okay, in the 70s, they were hunting down the Nazi remnant from the Nazi regime. They were in South America, Mossad, Israeli intelligence. They were tracking down all the Nazi collaborators to haul them to Israel for a trial. And now, then it was Egypt that stood in their way, and they destroyed Egypt. And it was Syria that stood in their way, and it was Iraq, and it was the Palestinians, and now it's Iran. And what happens when America stands in their way? Well, they'll do it to you too. I want Iran. I want Iran to fight them over there so we don't have to fight them over here. I want Iran to fight the Israelis over there so we don't have to fight their fifth column in the United States. I want Israel to be weaker. So I saw some people didn't really get that. They said, oh, he's rooting against America. America's controlled by Israel. I'm rooting for America. But right now, Iran is fighting for America more than America's fighting for America. America's fighting for Israel. Iran is fighting for Iran. But by fighting against Israel, Iran is indirectly fighting for us. So I pray for the martyrs. I pray for the martyrs in Iran. I pray for their martyred Ayatollah. I pray for their martyred IRGC because they're fighting the war that we are not, that we will not. Who are we fighting this war for? They're not even hiding it. We're fighting it for Israel. I don't blame Iran. I don't blame them even a little bit. Not even a little bit. It's tragic what is happening. All loss of life is tragic. And obviously, I pray for the dead Americans that have been killed by this. But who is responsible for the dead Americans? It is the decision makers that betrayed us to a foreign nation and sent American citizens to fight and die, to kill and be killed on behalf of a foreign nation. That's who bears the responsibility. Who bears the responsibility for American lives? The commander-in-chief of the armed forces that sends them into harm's way, and better only be doing it if it's in the interest of the United States of America. Who's responsible for any American dying? Well, their representative, their sovereign, their head of state, their leader, whose job it is to protect the homeland, ensure domestic tranquility, protect against enemies, foreign and domestic. It's our president that needs to be looking out for us, not Iran, not Israel. Who launched a war that we knew we couldn't finish, that we knew would bear casualties, that has no tangible, conceivable benefit for Americans? It was President Trump on behalf of Israel. I don't blame Iran. I don't hold Iran responsible. Iran is not my enemy. I don't want to fight Iran. I don't want to die in Iran. You say Iran is our enemy. Why? They have a different religion? Why is Iran my enemy? Because they oppress their own people? I don't live in Iran. I'm not an Iranian. That's their problem. They're not my problem. They're not killing me. I have a greater risk of dying on the highway because an Indian has a CDL. I have a greater risk of dying because a black person's driving on the shoulder and cops can't chase him anymore. I'm at greater risk of dying on American public transit than I am because the Iranians went to war with me. We have real problems in this country, real problems that our leadership won't solve. Instead, they send our soldiers not to protect our border, not to protect Americans in our own cities, not to ensure peace on our public transit or public square, but to go and fight Israel's adversaries so they can have as much power and wealth as is literally possible and conceivable for them to have. So who's responsible? Who is the enemy? The enemy is within. The enemy is not, we don't like the mullahs, so we're going to take, a little detour? That's the scenic route? Well, we'll just bomb them, just not. Yeah, well, we happen to not like them. Fuck it, let's just kill them all. No, not my enemy. Iran is not the enemy. Muslims are not the enemy. The enemy is within. The enemy comes from within. And the enemy are the people that have hijacked our government and sending Americans to kill and be killed on behalf of their country. That's the enemy. That's the enemy that comes from within. It's the enemy that tells us we're a melting pot, diversity is our strength. It's the enemy that opened our borders to people that hate us and kill us. It's the people that oversaw the destruction of our cities, riots that forced the cops not to arrest criminals. That's the enemy. The enemy is within. That's who I'm worried about unseating. You want to talk about regime change in Iran? I want regime change in America. You want regime change in Iran? You want an uprising over there? I want an uprising over here. I want regime change here. Make Iran again? I want to make America great again. So I see some of these knuckle-dragging idiot conservatives falling for this. That Haim guy, what's that Christian guy's name? He's like some Christian nationalist. I saw him interview the Asian guy, one of the Asian guys. They all look the same to me and they all sound the same. Nice guy though. But I saw that, I think his name is Matt Haim, something like that. He goes on the show and he goes, I disagree with this take. You're sticking up for the mullahs? No, douchebag. I'm sticking up for America. And, if you didn't just make culture war slop, if you actually did your homework, maybe you'd know a thing or two about this. I've been doing this for 10 years, as I like to remind people every day. Look at the bigger picture. The problem is not foreign aid. We give all this foreign aid money. That's not the problem. They say we're fighting an endless war. Not the problem. Israel's committing a genocide with our tax dollars. Not the problem. None of these things, not the foreign aid, not AIPAC, not the never-ending wars, not the genocide, not the Jewish media. None of these things are the problem. These are a means to an end. All of these things are the mode. These are a means to an end. These are means wielded by a Jewish fifth column inside of our country. Powerful Jews, loyal to Israel, loyal to international Jewry, have hijacked our institutions, are directing American power at their enemies. Hezbollah, Hamas, Assad, the Houthis, Iran, the Shiite militias in Iraq, the IRGC, directed American power at their enemies to degrade them, to destroy them, to pave the way for an Israeli empire, which is meant to be the seat of a global Jewish empire. And the capital of international Jewry will migrate from New York to Jerusalem. And all our Jewish billionaires, all our Jewish leaders, under fire from anti-Semitism and seeing their promised land built up and enriched and powerful, they will move there. And Israel will grow in size, in territory, in population, in wealth, in prestige, in status. And they will go where they can be themselves. They will go where they can be Jewish. And they will have that country, that empire sprawling across the Middle East, controlling the choke points, controlling the infrastructure, the raw materials, the supply chains, the arbitrage between the continents at the center of the world island, the center of the heartland, which is the center of the world island. And they will also have their influence in our corridors of power as well. They will also have their influence through technology, through political connections. They'll also have their people, their viceroy, inside of our government. That's the biggest threat. That's the problem. You think Iran is the problem? You think Muslims are the problem? They're not the problem. They're an instrument, a tool. The real problem is the sophisticated, sinister adversary that is at the core, the nucleus. All of this other stuff orbits around it. This is at the center of it all. And that's what people are not ready for. That's what people might scoff at, go, a Jewish empire headquartered in Jerusalem? Yeah, well, you thought we wouldn't be at war with Iran right now probably too, didn't you? You didn't think they would use October 7th as a rolling justification to overthrow Assad and invade Lebanon and get us to bomb the Houthis for a year and then ultimately get us into a ground war in Iran, which we're inevitably headed towards. You thought that too, didn't you? I'm sure they would have scoffed 50 years ago if you told them it would have went this far when Israel is trading land for peace and making a deal with the Egyptians. You probably would have scoffed back then if you were alive. So that is the big picture. That's what people are not maybe ready for, willing to grapple with. But that is the new century. When the Israelis said we're going to reset the regional order 50 years, that's what they meant. They meant everything is about to fundamentally change, and it is. And that is even what Netanyahu said today. In his speech, Netanyahu said, we will first become a regional power, and then that will make us a global power. That's obviously the goal by taking out Iran. He said, our Messiah won't come back next week, but he means he's coming back soon. And they're working toward that goal. That's why, as Tucker pointed out, they're wearing a Greater Israel patch on their arm, because it is about expanding Israeli territory, pushing their enemies geographically further back, and that means pushing them out of the West Bank and Gaza, pushing them out of the Sinai, pushing them out of the territory south of the Litani, maybe pushing into Jordan. And then once they create that buffer zone and destroy all their enemies' militaries, then they can begin work on the temple, the seat of the lawless man. That's the goal. That's obvious, isn't it? People say, well, we're already at war with Iran. What do you like, the mullahs? Mullahs? You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. What is a mullah, you fucking stupid idiot? They say, well, as long as we're attacking the mullahs, what do you like, Islam? Islam. Give me a break. Islam, Who runs Hollywood? Who runs the media? Who runs banking? Who runs the government? Is it Muslims they're afraid to criticize? Then why, oh why is Randy Fine in Congress? It's the Muslims everybody's afraid to criticize at the peril of their career, their livelihood, social standing. That's who we're afraid of? It's Muslims that will act like berserkers and lie about you and destroy your reputation or kill you if you go against them? It's them? Doesn't feel like it. Doesn't feel like it lately, actually. Muslims are just the instrument, and they will be brought here, and they will be radicalized, and they will be incited to attack us so that we will hate them, so that we will co-sign Israel's war, thinking there's a mutual benefit, and we will kill our empire to build Israel's. Our empire, and the MAGA movement is a tiny part of it, will be sacrificed on the altar. It will be burned up and destroyed in this attack so that we can build a foundation for a Jewish empire. And then when they are finished with us, they will wipe their hands clean and they will be done with us. And then we will be their slaves. That's the end game, obviously. We fought all these wars. We destroyed our peace dividend, our MAGA movement, our everything. It's all being burned up. We're the sacrificial lamb. We're the burnt offering. We are being destroyed so that they can create. And then when our country perishes, they will laugh. They will admonish us. They will say it is a curse from Hashem because we became anti-Semitic. We lost the Jews, so now we lost our secret sauce. That is what they will say. That is what they will say. When America crashes and burns, civil war, fire rains from the sky, whatever, they'll say, well, America became anti-Semitic. They abandoned Hashem. And that is why now they're being divinely punished. And it is just. They became Amalek, right? That's what they say. They say it all the time. What did Roseanne Barr say? She said, America will fall. That's literally what Roseanne Barr said. If America abandons the Jews, they will get what they deserve. America will fall. They fucking hate us. These people fucking hate us. They can't wait to see it. They're glad. They can't stand us. They tolerate us. You want to talk about tolerance? They tolerate us. They see us as stupid goyim, and they are just bearing and grinning. Grin and bear it as they gas up the goyim, no pun intended, telling them, hey, we're going to get mass deportations. Oh, we're going to support Trump. Good morning, we are going to win. Good morning, we are going to win. Good morning, we are going... You know, these fucking stupid idiots, they're grinning and bearing it, pretending to be friends with the goyim, waiting to kill us, lying in wait to rise and kill first. It's what it is. Now, what you do with this information, hey, whatever. Like, I would say don't give in to hatred, okay? Don't give in to hatred. Don't be like them. But that's what it is. And you get this Protestant goofus, LARPer, costume wearer, puffing on his pipe. I saw this show. I don't know the guy. Maybe he's a nice guy. I don't know him. But he watches a clip and he goes, so Nick thinks Iran should win the war? Isn't that not patriotic? Patriotic. You don't know the first thing about it. You don't know the meaning of the word. Patriotic. For this government, what's patriotic about this? How many dead Americans? How many paralyzed, permanently injured, maimed Americans from Iowa, from Florida, from Connecticut, from, all these people that have now died and been injured in the conflict? Was it patriotic to send them to destroy our empire to build another? No, I don't think so. So yeah, I am rooting for Iran. You're right. You got me. Guilty as charged. I'm rooting for Iran because Iran is fighting them over there. They're on the front lines. It's their turn. Are you ready? And ask yourself, are you ready? Iranian Revolutionary Guard. They're willing to die for what they believe in. They're willing to die for their religion in defiance against Israel, against America. What would happen if Israel was bombing us like they're bombing Iran? Where would all of you be? Where the fuck would all of you be? You people that don't want to vote for a Democrat, you're going to get the vaccine because you don't want to lose your job. Where would you pussies be? Do you believe in anything? Huh? Honest to God, think about it. Think about it. They're not different than us. They're not different than us at all. They're human beings. Human beings slaughtered mercilessly, giving up their lives for their country, for their God, facing death bravely, filling the ranks, knowing they'll be struck down. Mojtaba Khamenei filling the seat of his father, knowing that he's almost certainly going to die, just like Hamas did, just like the other martyrs did. These are warriors. These are warriors that actually believe in their religion. These are warriors that actually believe in their cause, facing certain death defiantly. What about you guys? What about the fight over here? If Israel's dropping missiles on everybody, would you face death defiantly, or would you go running for the hills? Would you not want to be pictured next to the anti-Semite? Would you not want to get fired from your job? You know, there's a lesson in all this. You know, maybe in some sense, history belongs to those who fight. History belongs to those who care. The Jews care. When they fought for Israel, they had their fight. They were bold, daring, cruel, unscrupulous. You think about the things they've accomplished, you know, by way of deception. They were willing to fight. The Iranians are willing to fight and die. Are Americans, are we willing to do anything? Are we willing to do absolutely anything? That's the question everybody needs to ask. Are we going to make Instagram reels, reaction content? I don't know. The mullahs suck. Okay, buddy. But anyway, and that's not a call for violence, by the way. I'm not saying to go. I don't actually think violence is called for in America, but you do need to rededicate yourself to the struggle. It's a very serious struggle against Jewish power. As Catholics, as Christ believers, okay, they're Muslims, we're Christians. As Americans, okay, you need to rededicate yourself to the struggle. And, you know, there's more than one way to give your life. Yeah, they give their lives in their way. We give our lives to the struggle day in, day out, trying to ascend the ladder, trying to wrest back control over the government. And it's important. I think the greatest peril is that we become too much like the enemy. That might be the greatest peril. That might actually accelerate our defeat. And by that, I mean, if we turn to hatred and violence, and even if let's say we appoint some brutal dictator and that guy goes to war with Israel, I don't know that that's going to work. Okay? We got to be innocent and cunning. We have to be both. And it's very difficult. In some ways, it's easier. In some like orgy of ecstatic martyrdom, you know, this big climax of battle or something, we have to give our entire lives to this, our whole mind, our whole soul, and for the right reasons, because it's right, because it's just. That's why we have to do it. We have to be absolutely dedicated. That's what it is. These are dark times. These are very dark times. Very dark, very ominous. And nobody feels good about it. So time to get a little bit serious. No, the mullahs are not the problem. If I hear you talking about Islam, you are a fucking goy, or you're a Jew. Or you're a Jew. Pretending to be goy. Okay, all right, but that's that. We're going to move on. We're going to take a look at our super chats. This is a long show. It's like a 2-hour monologue almost. But look, we are at war. We are at war. This is like Star Wars. And it's you know, it's a bit convoluted. It's layered. There's the war, and then there's the war. There's a shadow war. There's a shadow war going on beneath the surface. It can't be seen. It is an unseen war. It's the secret war. It's a secret spiritual war. It is and I'm not joking, but I'm have a cheerful demeanor. It is a shadow conflict. And only until it is too late will the nature of it be revealed. And the reason I bring up Star Wars, because, you know, in Star Wars, it's like you have a battle between the Empire and the rebels. And ostensibly, people think it's all political, right? If you're in the Rebel Alliance, you're like, I don't like big government. You know, I don't like being oppressed by this empire ruled from Coruscant. And if you're a pro-empire guy, you're like, you know, these rebels are terrorists. Fuck them. I say crush them. Bring on the walkers. Bring on the AT-ATs. So everyone thinks it's political, but in reality, there's something religious happening. Who is the emperor of the empire? Well, it's not some political figure. It's like a demonic force. It is a demonic spiritual entity. And on the other side, who is fighting the battle for the rebels? It's the good guys in exile. It's another religious order. Not to get Reddit, okay? Not to gay it up and get Reddit, but I think about this all the time. It's exactly the same way. You think it's political. You think it's Republicans and Democrats. It's Americans in the third world or Americans in China. There's a political layer, but underneath the political is the spiritual. Hidden within, nested inside, is something intimate and spiritual and personal. And it's wizards, it's a religious order, and it matters how we fight also. In the same way, we can't give in to the dark side, just like in we can't be led by hate. Sounding cornier, but it's also true. Because if the demonic is influencing the power of Israel, the demonic feeds on hatred, the demonic feeds on wickedness, hardening your heart against God. So you may think you're fighting for the cause. You may think the ends justify the means, but you're only playing a part in an incomprehensibly complex plan that ultimately serves the devil. So it doesn't just matter, what we're fighting for, but it's also how we're fighting personally every day. So, these people that, the mullahs, they suck too. Well, I'm not a Democrat, all this kind of stuff. Well, that's not serious. Well, you're not being mature. Well, I don't know what that means, okay? What does that mean? It means I'm not a wagey? Like, what does that mean? He's not mature. Tell him how to act. He doesn't know how to act. I'm not an actor. I'm a human. That's what I do. Someone needs to get this guy in line. He doesn't know how to act. You're right. I'm not an actor. Anyway, that's my favorite. You ever see that Kanye? He's on Jimmy Kimmel and he goes, little kid thinks a coffee table. They say he doesn't know how to act. We're actors. So true. So true. The GOAT. Anyway. All right, let's take a look at the super chats. This is real. This is real. This is why you watch the show. This is why you watch the show. This is what it's all about. All right. We are going to move on. It is true, though, okay? It is true. I've always felt it. I've always felt tapped in. I don't think I just read the tea leaves. I think I am just like dialed in. Okay. I had a meeting with Candace and Charlie on the astral plane. It was me, Jeff, Charlie, Candace, and we all were hanging out on the astral plane discussing these events. No, but it's true. I've been dialed in from day one. I'm like Yoda. Remember when Yoda kind of knew? He always kind of knew. Because if you know the lore, it's like the dark side clouded the Jedi Council, so they didn't anticipate the resurgence of the Sith order. But Yoda knew. Everybody else was too arrogant. Everybody else was too arrogant and stodgy, all the other Jedi, but Yoda was dialed in and he kind of knew. He sensed it. And that's like me. It's like I sense this. I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi. I sense the fall of the Republic. I feel it. I am dialed in like that. Anyway, not to nerd out a little bit, but that's true. So it's pretty freaky. I hope I'm wrong. I would be very relieved if like Israel was destroyed tomorrow and it's like, oh, I guess we have nothing to worry about. I'd be like, thank God. Like, honestly, that's a huge relief. Like now I feel a lot better. can I just get a vanilla latte and a cinnamon pull apart, please? Like, that would make me feel a lot better. Because this is deeply disconcerting. The signs are not good. It's very ominous. I wish I was wrong. If Iran won and this was all overblown and like Israel just chilled out and they're like, you know what? Never mind. We're not going to kill everybody. And Jews were totally innocent. I would be like, oh, you almost scared me. I'd be like, oh my God, you really had me going. I thought fire was about to fall from the sky and neither the innocent or the guilty would be spared. You really had me going there. I was freaking out. But I'm getting to be, Chicken Little. Sometimes Chicken Little knows what he's talking about. Not good. I wish I was wrong. But I fear that I'm right. And if I'm right, then we're all dead. But you know what makes you feel better? You start to think like the end of the world is upon us. The tribulation is imminent. We're all going to die. But then you remember, like, well, we're going to die anyway, like we're all going to die anyway. It's kind of the whole program. So I don't know if that's a big source of relief, but it's definitely like, well, it's like kind of one option here. You get what you get, right? You just got to live your life and be guided by conscience. That's all you can do. It's already over, Jesus saved the day. It's already over. We already won, okay? So just keep that in mind. They are an instrument. We are an instrument of God. We have to be an instrument of God. If death arrives, well, it comes for everybody. Eternal life is only guaranteed through Jesus. So that's how you have to think about it. Don't get too hung up on nationalism, race, anything, ideology, anything. I know that is not going to be popular, but it's just true. Because if you get too hung up, all these things will pass eventually.
Brian sent $20. Do we vote Democrat across the board or just for House and Senate?
Just for House and Senate. Just for the House, actually. You can vote Republican for the Senate, just for the House.
Dooba sent $20. Just watch the Nuremberg movie. Do you think they'll ever do a movie about the Kessner affair? Maybe an HBO miniseries?
Yeah,
your grandma
maybe.
sent $25. Hello again, mister. You could be my grandson. I knew I wasn't MAGA when J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Mark Levin, and Ben Shapiro decided they were.
So true.
I am very concerned that this Iran war has ruined the U.S.
So it has. You're absolutely right. And I feel the same way. And I don't know how everybody else didn't feel the same way too. How are you an OG MAGA and you see Shapiro, Levin, Lindsey Graham, Shapiro, Vance, all these people, I think I said Shapiro twice, all these people join in, you're still on board? Clearly something went wrong.